talk about this for a number of reasons, frankly. Number one, it's the pandemic thing is definitely kind of screwing a lot of people's creative output, mostly because this, idea that where do we go from here? There's so much uncertain stuff ahead of us. And I think creative fulfillment is something that I'm also interested in talking about from two points of view. I want to talk about it from a macro level, of course. Why do we do what we do? Why do we make music? Where do we want to go? Why did we choose this silly path sometimes, But also just from a more day-to-day micro level, like what's giving you creative fulfillment right now? Is it experimenting in a genre? Is it focusing on video stuff, artwork, whatever it might be? I just really think it's important to kind of keep that in mind, especially when the only kind of currency I think a lot of us are going off of when it comes to career progression, if it's not streams, even though streams is a form of this, is that attention, right? How much attention are we commanding? And I know it's almost like a catch-22, right? Anyone who knows me, I'm a marketer, obviously, I'm like, you got to get that attention. You got to get that attention. But I think I didn't do a good enough job of really kind of coming at it from an artistic point of view of like, hold on, that's not why you're doing this. And I kind of want to break this down today with you guys, because on one hand, while people like Jeff are seeing success with labels and now you're getting on playlists, there's the argument to be made that if you keep rapidly releasing music, what are you, an artist, or are you a farm machine for the playlisters? Are you a farm machine for Spotify, the tech companies? So when you make content for your social media, are you an artist? Are you an entertainer? Are you just a farm machine for these tech companies again? So it's this dangerous kind of feedback loop as to like, where does the art stop and the entertainment begin and the content and the promotion begin? So I really think it's important that we talk about those lines a little bit and how we're approaching them, and as a way to counteract this weird cloud above us as creative individuals. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of open it up to you guys now. First of all, when you saw this topic, creative fulfillment, did anyone get hit with a board of some kind because you were struggling with that as to like, what's the point with what I'm doing right now? Why should I keep going? That whole thing did anyone get struck with that to start off with? To see if anyone did. Anybody? Tomas, you're nodding your head. What you got?
I mean, it was interesting to me. I think that's something that I think about sometimes. I've been making music for so many years, and although I haven't really been taking it like super serious until recent years, sometimes I think about it. I'm like the why. Like, I actually just ask myself, like, do I actually really want to continue doing this? If I'm looking in the future and looking at like what's ahead, is this something I want to continue putting my effort into? Should I focus on scoring? Like what is the why? And every time I do ask that question, I ponder it for a moment, and then it comes back to like, yeah, absolutely. Like, this is absolutely what I want to do. Mm-hmm. But I think that at times I'm thinking about the vision. I have a super clear vision of what I want to do and what I'm creating. And then sometimes in the day-to-day, I feel like sometimes it gets lost in schedules, or if I get caught up with client work, and then I start to lose that sense of the why.
Sure.
Or just like just being in the space of creating. So I do all these things to set it up, and then while I'm creating, sometimes I feel resistance, and I'm like, okay, like, what's the deal?
Let me ask you this, or actually anyone, has anyone ever quit? Has anyone almost quit? Or actually, has anyone ever just completely quit and then got back into it? Raise your hand. Anybody nod? Has anyone just quit?
I quit music.
Who said that?
That was me. I've been in and out. What's up, guys?
What up?
It's Max.
There you are.
Yeah, man. I started as a singer-songwriter producer 2010, and then I moved into audio engineering, recording, mastering in studio. Had a studio gig, but eventually I just stopped making music myself. And forever in my music career, I struggled with the existential, like, who really cares about my music? I loved my music all the time, but I knew it was amateur. And so instead of taking it further and further and further, it kind of just dwindled. But I will say that I never pushed it. I never marketed it. I never really took myself seriously as an artist. It was always more of like a self-expression outlet. And I never crossed the threshold of, okay, I'm gonna get out into the market and do actual marketing and branding for myself as an artist.
Okay. Now, on that same note here, and I've also been experiencing this thing myself here, but can you guys remember the time when you took it serious, right? Was there any point that you felt the fun kind of stopped a little bit, or that you kind of felt this pressure to like have some kind of outcome as a result of it? Because look, we start through music from, I don't want to speak for you guys, but mostly because it's fun, right? It's a fun thing to do. The people around us, we like the people around us that music has drawn us to. And we say, hey, you know, I'm kind of good at this, but you're only good at it because you like doing it. You know, you're progressing naturally because you enjoy it. But at a certain point, you know, sometimes we feel this kind of pressure to just deliver it as a quality product. And I think it's dangerous there because sometimes the fun gets lost there. Can anyone speak to that when the idea of the fun kind of goes away a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that happened to me actually really recently.
What happened?
Yeah, so I've been kind of grinding away. Like earlier in my career decision, I kind of realized that I want to be more of like an album artist. Like I'm always struck by like really amazing groups of songs that, you know, weave together, tell a story, do this, do that, like touching albums. And like in this process, it's obviously very difficult to gather a group of songs or like go into like have this goal in mind instead of just openly creating for fun and doing, you know, what you're feeling that day. But yeah, I found recently that like I had to stop working on it for almost a month and a half just because I needed to like get the fun back. The fun left. It started to feel like a chore to, you know, wake up and work on music every day. And yeah, it came back when I just decided to go and like rediscover what it was that I learned about music. Like I love playing my instruments. I love doing weird sound design stuff. Like I love making grooves and just kind of little things that don't necessarily always result in, you know, a finished piece of work. But yeah, once I started incorporating like a little bit of fun before every I think you guys were talking about this last week actually, like incorporating fun into the beginning of your work time. Yeah, I started to do that like a few weeks ago, and it really does a lot. Like just reminding yourself of like, oh, this is something I like to do. Like I'm not just like locking myself in my room every day because I feel like I have some goal to meet. Like I did this initially before I ever even thought about a goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it kind of goes back to like what's pushing you forward. I mean, it's hard to almost kind of equate to other things, but you know, for example, like I just picked up surfing. I suck. In fact, me and my homie, he's been surfing for a couple of months now. You know, we have a gag. It's like every time we go out, we just suck a little less. We're not getting better. No, we're not getting better. We just suck a little less. And I have no intention of being a pro surfer. I have no intention of making money. Even skateboarding. I've been skating since I was like 11. I never had ambitions to be a pro skater or anything. They're not even working in the skateboarding industry, but you do it anyway, right? You fall down, you get up, you spend all day not landing shit until you finally do in front of nobody. No one sees it. When they do, they're not nearly as stoked as you, right? But why you keep getting better is almost like that kind of internal pursuit. It's not an internal desire to win per se. I'm not winning if I do a kickflip into a no slide finally. You know, but like it is for me because like I achieved
that would be hard though. That would be
That's
cool.
pretty sweet. That's pretty sweet.
Get the respect and admiration from your peers, but for the most part, you know, you're gonna go home and just be sore and just watch skate videos later at night. You know, it's the kind of thing. So I think maybe with like music, maybe again, just for me, like you start because it's fun and you want to get better, but then you start getting into that professional side of it, and then things like monthly listeners is staring at you in the face, analytics, which again, I'm a marketer. But then when it enters this sphere, like something else happens. So back to, I mean, I got to thank Tomas, if anything, for the one who brought this up last week, because it's something that we all kind of know, right? We should probably play more, have more fun. But the impact of that, I think, cannot be understated. Just to give an example of that, now I'm in this room and I just kind of felt this pressure of like, people like my piano stuff. I guess I'll make more piano stuff. But I was like, fuck that. Let me just experiment and fuck around and make beats and shit. And not only is it fun, but now I'm kind of really considering, should I really incorporate this into what I'm doing? If I'm having fun, I'm enjoying it, I'm gonna get better at that. I'm gonna get better at that because I'm actually having fun at that. That might give me my edge there. So on that same note, can anyone speak to this idea of having fun and now incorporating that onto the professional side as a result? What's kind of
Yeah, I'd like to say something on that. I think when you're having fun, you kind of reach this different realm where something else is coming through you. So you're not as focused on the end result, which in the end creates a better quality product that people resonate more with. So one, it's more enjoyable when you're having fun, but on top of that, I think the end result oftentimes you'll come out more happy with it. So that's kind of how I think of the importance of having fun when you're working and enjoying
which begs
what
the
you're
question,
doing.
you know, what makes it fun? You know, some like to use that skateboarding analogy, jumping up and down is fun, going fast is fun, but achievement is also fun, right? Progress is fun.
Hey, HISHAM, nice to see you. It's Luke. Hey,
What
nice
up, Luke?
to see you. Yeah, hi, nice to see you, man.
What up?
Yeah, it's a great. The question is really important and it's really great. And the issue that you just said, what is the target, is extremely important. I'm you know, like 18 years in a industry, made 15 albums, and my big dream was to score the movie, you know, like, and you know, this is incredible how many worlds are in this musical world. And you know, like I was dreaming for scoring the film. And then I finally started doing that with Netflix a couple of months ago, and it became some terrible adventure, completely terrible adventure, you know, where you just being killed every day by director who is like terrible ego man, who is, you know, saying you that this is this sucks, or you need to make it once again. And after, you know, fourth or fifth changes, you know, of the score of the song, it's just, you know, it's just became, you know, terrible. And I think that there are so many things that are seducing in the world of music. For some of us are the numbers, for some of us are the views, but for some of us, for example, for me, it was like experimenting, you know, like checking what is my best, what is my nature for the music? What do I love the most? The scoring, or maybe just writing the songs? Or maybe it's just, you know, like making some theater music, or maybe something producing or writing lyrics. So yeah, I love the title of your lecture today, because after 18 years of creation and, you know, like releasing 15 or 16 albums, and I'm asking myself this question very much nowadays, when it appears that something that I dream about, you know, became not exactly my fun.
I love that.
You know,
I love that point. Thank you for bringing that up. And it brings an interesting, I mean, I'm a language person. So when people say like, why do you make music? What's a very common response? It's my dream. It's my dream. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. I totally get it. Like we're all in the same room. We have that kind of same thing. But then you break down like, okay, fine. What is the dream? Making money from making music. That about sums it up, right? I can do this all day and money comes in my bank account and I can keep doing my thing. But then Luke just mentioned like, hey, I'm making music. I'm making money from it. That's not exactly what I thought it might be. Okay. Yeah. But at least for me, I mean, look, I do many things. And as you guys know, in music, I do marketing, I do education, I make music myself, but I still think it's all one thing. I think what I discovered, at least this is just my fulfillment. Some people, by the way, Luke, can be just composers for hire and make stuff. And here you go. Here's $5,000. You own it. Take it. I have no attachment. Have it. You know, other people can't do that. But I think what I kind of found, whatever will give me fulfillment is whatever it is, I got to do it on my terms. Okay. Like I've been a marketer for other artists and for agencies, and I have clients. I always had this thing of like, I mean, I'm doing good work, but like I'm a mercenary. This isn't quite on my own terms. I've done stuff for other people musically, and I just kind of, you know, for sale, basically like, it's not on my own terms. But to give you guys a real example, last week, I got my first ever like Spotify check, like my first check from Spotify. And I can legitimately tell you, it was the first time I made big boy money as an artist. Like I was like, holy shit, like that's money in my sleep. I did that. That's the stuff I just wanted to make. I wanted to make that. I didn't make it for anyone specifically. People liked it. I just got paid for it. More of that. More of that. That's what I'm looking for. So once you start feeling that shit for the first time, it's like, it's the combination of things, right? It's the attention, you get attention, sure, in streaming numbers, but when you attach it to something like, I'm gonna pay bills with that shit. That's what I want. How do I get more of that kind of stuff, you know? And it's just, that's just where I'm at in this stage of my career. I don't think I was here 10 years ago, but after being in the game for this long and finally focusing on music again, I realized that's what I need. I need more of that specific feeling. So
Right.
again, back to language, making money from your music is, I think you need to specify that a bit more. Has anyone had any kind of experience in that?
But you know what, Hisham, I want to add to something that I like the fact that I mean, starting off with the whole surfboarding, where, you know, it's not competition for you, it's not making money off of it. It's just, I see it more in the way of, it could be music, it could be anything, scoring. It all starts off with passion and courage. You know, that's the simplicity of how anything can ignite to whatever it may be. So, you know, you're passionate about whatever you want to do, and then having the courage, taking the initiative of doing that you're passionate of in that moment. But those two ingredients is almost like it's almost like being a hamster in a hamster wheel and just running. But then at the end of the day, you don't care where you're going, because you're always going to be in the same place. You know, you might lose weight or you might gain something, but you're always still going to be in the same place because the passion drives you, because you don't see anything else. But, you know, to take it to the next stage or to the next level of, you know, we call it a career or business, there needs to be some sort of a purpose and direction. And I feel like that's where the fun goes away for a lot of people, because they don't really see the purpose and the direction area of that. Because at the end of the day, those two ingredients forms a concept, and then the concept is the driving force of the brand identity, as you always talk about.
Sure.
So I just feel like people, especially artists, I mean, I'm not an artist, but especially artists, I feel like they don't see the they get confused between those two. At the end of the day, the reality and the assumption to what we're talking about, it is called the music business.
Yeah.
It's business at the end of the day. I get it. Like just right now, you just said, I just made a check. I just made bread. I just made big boy money. To me, that's business.
Sure.
So you know, as an artist, and I love what you're doing, and you've been, ever since I've known you, that's all you've been doing. It's just to educate, and you want people to be independent. But you do need a purpose, and you do need a direction. And the fun ends when you start competing, because competition, from what I know, competition compromises with creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to really understand who are you? What the fuck are you doing? Like what got you into this in the first
Exactly.
place?
That's the first thing. You gotta get the consciousness. That's so important.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
you mentioned courage and passion. I mean, if you can simplify down to those, I'll roll with that. I mean, just use that as a classic example. Like, I was passionate the whole time, but I didn't have the courage. And I was talking to my friend Jeff, who's also known as Poolside, about this yesterday. And I was like, it took a fucking global pandemic for me to get my ass in gear. Like, all right, fine, I'll make music finally. But I understand why. Because
true.
At the time, I lost all my touring clients, which I understand. They're off the road, they're not making money, so I lost them. You know, like ArtistPro students at the time, I was like, just waive the tuition, guys. You all lost your job. I'm like, I got nothing else to lose. Fuck it, I'll make music. So I kind of wussed out in that regard. But back to the courage component, once you start seeing validation and affirmation, which, dude, can take a
Validation, affirmation, yes.
You know? Then the courage, it's less of a factor. It's like, well, you liked it more? Okay. You know, it's almost kind of like that motion there. Can anyone else?
Like one more thing on that. I feel like the almost additional feeling is confidence. That maybe like coincides with courage, but I feel like it's really important to like find ways to give yourself like confidence boosts when you're feeling discouraged about music, or you're feeling like, why am I doing this, or what is this, like those affirmations you're talking about, like you need to get, you know, focus on finishing something, or like getting a gig, or doing something, just to make sure that you can kind of like keep your internal happiness afloat.
Yeah. How are you guys doing
for
that
sure.
right now? In the middle of this pandemic, when you don't have, you know, support systems around you all the time, friends, circles, hangouts, bars, etc. Like, how are you guys doing that now? Just get that any kind of affirmation. I know if I'm doing this fucking group, but like how are you guys getting that?
Honestly, Hisham, it's about accepting it. I mean, I personally just accept the reality to what just brought to the table right now. I mean, I could sit here and cry and fucking just be like, what the fuck? I'm not getting any more gigs. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. But I've noticed with this pandemic and this fucking lockdown, I think it was a blessing for me because there's not a lot for me to do. So I'm left really with nothing but to be really fucking creative now, more than I've ever been as an executive or as a manager.
Can anyone else relate to that? Same thing?
Yeah.
Extremely creative at the time. I mean, M-Rock, for you guys, just so you know, for reference, he's a music manager, makes music videos and whatnot. On that note, real quick, M-Rock, are there any, I mean, you work with a lot of artists, but is there any particular artist that you can give, I mean, maybe you can't say a direct name for confidentiality, but anyone that you saw get into that competitive spirit, which look, I'm watching that Bulls documentary right now, Michael Jordan, and I'm all about that competitive energy, but like applying it to music, I don't know. It's a catch-22. So is there any artists you can think of directly that got into that competitive spirit and maybe led to a downfall of some kind that you worked with or seen? And Rock, for context, guys, does a lot of stuff in hip hop space, a lot of the pop music space as well.
I mean, I pretty much, for those of you who don't know who I am, I wear a few hats. I'm a music manager, and I represent artists. And for right now, I only represent one artist. And I have a music production company. And then I have my production company. It's a music video. I produce a bunch of major music videos and commercials. And then on the other hand, I run a nightclub in Turkey.
That's right. I completely fucking forgot about that. But yeah, on the competitive side, any artists that you saw that got over the competitive perhaps and it led to a downfall of some kind? We can come back to you if you want.
Yeah, not on top of my head. I can really, I to be very honest with you, I don't even been thinking about it or paying too much attention to most artists. It's just, I've just been really so focused on myself and my own businesses and my future and my artists. I really haven't really, that's a good question, but I haven't really thought.
All right, we'll come back to you.
I have a note real quick on competition.
Go for it.
Just because it kind of inspired me. There was, you know, we're talking about the why, right? Like the why you make music. And there was a point, I'd been making music for a lot of years, and then I kind of like dropped away for a while I got more into like video production stuff. And the thing that brought me back was these beat battles that were happening in San Francisco. It was these crazy underground beat battles that were like very 8 Mile style, just like in basements and things. And going to those and getting into it, that like really got me back into production, and something about it really, really inspired me. And that was amazing for me. But I think what it was the feeling. It was competition, but it wasn't like comparison. It was more like camaraderie and connection, and then playing music and getting instant feedback on the beats. So, you know, I did one and I didn't do well, and I was like, I have to win the next one. And then I did, and then it just kind of kept going. And so I think for that one, like what I was really chasing there was that feeling. It was the other feelings related to the music. Because I think we all, like all of us who are creatives, like we all started music to get that feeling that maybe we got from other music at some time in our life. And so we all have that in us. And I think it's more about finding ways to connect that to other things that might inspire you to get back into that place.
Yep. It's almost like what you're doing with Hyperflow, dude. I got to say.
Yeah.
I mean, raise your hand if you've been to a Hyperflow or you know about Hyperflow that Tomas does.
I know about Hyperflow.
Tomas, you got to plug it, dude.
Love that idea.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the ways that I'm staying connected with folks on here in the quarantine is this event called Hyperflow. It's a monthly music producer creative challenge, 1 day event once a month, and the goal is everybody makes 3 songs each. So it's pretty crazy. It's all like with creative prompts and everyone's working together. It was in person, now it's on Zoom, but it works really, really well. And yeah, that's a really good way, at least once a month, just to get super creatively inspired and see what everyone else is working on. And yeah, if anyone here is welcome, you guys should definitely come through.
Yeah, and if you produce music, man, I recommend it. I did it once in person back when we could still do that. And I just love the idea of Tomas throwing me curveballs. Like, oh, you're almost like pitching me. Like, all right, hit this. You know, he gives you an idea of whether rhythm or he'll just describe, like, do something that sounds like, you know, a waterfall or something like that. And I got to say, Tomas, that was very helpful for me because like many of us, I've always had an issue finishing tracks. Right, but that was like, you have to finish this. I don't care if it's not good. You have to finish it. And I played it, and I remember thinking, you know, I was kind of cringing when I played it in front of people. But man, then
your track was so good, man. That was so fun.
I was cringing because I was like, you know, you have those imperfections in your ear. But more importantly, I walked away being like, I just finished like lots of tracks, like a short period of time, and I did it in a fun way. Like again, a large part of the reason why I chose music, guys, is to, you know, why you kind of reflect about creative fulfillment is just the people. Like at one point I kind of looked around me and I was like, everyone around me either fucking skateboards, plays music, or both. Like that's the common denominator. I want to be around these people specifically. What industries do I got to do to get into that? Music. Great. I can make music. Is that all I should do? What other things can I study to be around more of those people? Which again, in this pandemic time is, you know, kind of shitty for people like me because we thrive on being around other creative people. But again, things like Hyperflow, things like this, hopefully are one ways to combat that.
You know what else? You know what else I kind of want to add on to what you just said with the whole why, you know, everybody that's in this room, I feel like we all have a lot of things in common. I think we're all emotional. I think we're all sensitive. And I think based on those two ingredients makes us very creative. And then a lot of times, you know, you see yourself in the position where you get fucking stuck mentally, emotionally, and verbally, you get really stuck. And then you come to a point of giving up. And then the moment when you want to give up, because it's a cycle, you know? And then the moment you want to give up, that's when you ask yourself, why the fuck did I held on for so long? And what got me to do what I'm doing right now? So I really love this subject, why? Because we all, like, I'm looking at everybody, I'm like just scrolling through on my iPhone. It's like, everyone is just waiting to get answers or to maybe give an answer or give their experience. And I think it's because that's our emotion.
Let's talk about that actually on another angle. Is anyone here, let me look around if I don't, is anyone here part of a team, employ a team, have a team, whether it's managers, agents, other people that reside on your output?
Yeah, no, we have, as you know, we have an orchestra here. We have an orchestra, Rebel Babel Ensemble, which is an orchestra that plays around the world, and wherever we go, we always play with local orchestras, and it's a pretty huge project. So we just start. I just started hiring a couple of people just at the beginning of this pandemic situation. So it was really messed up.
Well, look, you got to put a link in the chat to some of these videos that you've done, dude. I mean, because they're insane. Like, he's being pretty humble about like, oh, we have an orchestra, dude. Come on, like.
Yeah, it's 11,000 people orchestra.
Thank you.
It's pretty crazy, and yeah, this project started growing very much. It's getting so big. Last year we recorded a tribute to DJ Premier with American orchestras also. But yeah, definitely we have a lot of people here. It's becoming an institution, honestly speaking. We have some support because I'm talking with you guys from Europe, and Europe it's a little bit, you know, easier to have some financial support, some grants. Probably, but still, it's also very hard time now. But also, Hisham, just one word. I wanna just because I didn't want to just interrupt you guys. I think that you were talking about this conscious. I mean, like being how do you call it? That you believe in what you're doing. All the stuff is so important, but also the consciousness. You know, like. I think that we are learning about ourselves every day, every year. You know, like for example, the issue that I mentioned about this film scoring. I was doing now 2 films, and one of them I was doing with some crazy director, and the other is with some great director. And what I learned after so many years, that it's extremely important for me, as you mentioned, Hisham, that it's so important to do it a little bit on your own rules, you know. So for me, I understand that film is just completely different rules, but still you can do it with some people that you have flow, or you can do it with some people that it's just a total job. And I learned that it's so important to work with people with you know, with which you have a flow, you have some common understanding, common rules. That makes me happy. And when I work with some people that are from some completely different planet, that makes me so unhappy. But still, getting back to the pandemic situation, yeah, we have a pretty big team, and we are occurring here a huge crisis, honestly.
Yeah, of course. You know, and I bring it up too because, you know, it's all about scale. You know, like right now, most of us are pretty autonomous in that, like, it's just us. You know, like we're somewhere by ourselves. But you know, I have friends who have bandmates that they can't tour with them right now. and they're not getting any royalties because they're work for hire people. They have managers, they have agents. You know,
Yeah.
I have friends that have their own. There's perfect timing. They started their own booking agency like right before the pandemic. You know, so
Yeah. That's luck. That's a big luck.
close, man. I feel bad for them. So like, I think also, I mean, look, I have clients that employ people like me. Some had to let me go. Totally understandable. You know, I can also say that I had one client, you know, Junkie Excel, Tom Holcomber, that, you know, I got to work with. He basically was on freeze as well. And, you know, he gets paid on milestones. Whenever the film moves forward, he gets paid and can pay his team, etc. But I've been with him for so long that he basically, you know, he just told me like, hey man, like, what do you need to survive? That's what I'll pay you. I'm like, dude, that's fucking amazing. Like, you're the only person that did that. But that's because I've been with him for like 7 years, and he operates his business the same way I do. And that, like, I really want my team, whenever it's going to look like, to feel like a family. Like, he's all about that family style. He always cooks for his teams. We always kind of hang out. And I've been part of other teams that are very transactional. Typically, like the bigger celebrity type, Emrock, you can speak to this, like the more celebrity the artist is, and the team is so like transactional and cutthroat and political. That's just the music industry I want to be part of. Like, look, people like bring up artists to me all the time that like I don't even know who they are, and sometimes I'm embarrassed, especially if they're big pop stars. And I go on Spotify, I'm like, oh fuck, 67 million monthly. So I should probably know who this person is. I'm a music professional, right? But no, I disagree. Like, creative fulfillment for me is finding that the music industry that I want to be a part of, which is very wide. Find the subsection of it, and that don't limit that to your genre per se. Limit that to the people you want to be around who have similar values, etc.
Exactly.
You mind if I say one thing, Hisham?
Yes, please. Go for
This
it.
is Max. I got to take off in a minute, but you know, I always love these conversations. Please keep having them. You touched on, you know, you finally made a check off of what you love and the actions that you enjoy doing. You want to keep doing more of that. And I'm very much about reverse engineering things. So if like that act, that moment, that event of you getting a check off of the effort that you love, making the music you love, how can we make that happen again, right? So in terms of creative fulfillment, I always tell my clients, and I help them in social media marketing, branding. I help them say, like, as a creative, you really just need to figure out what you want your lifestyle to be. You know, how do you want to wake up? What do you want to do first thing in the morning? Do you want to rush to an office, or do you want to sit down and write something?
Yeah.
You know, so figure out what you want your lifestyle to be, and then just start living that lifestyle. Of course, it's going to be a transition. You're going to shift your current lifestyle, but figure out the lifestyle you want. How are you going to make the money? Reverse engineer it, and then your creative fulfillment comes along in that journey. Because I don't believe fulfillment comes from a destination.
Sure.
Like you get a gold album or you have a sold out arena. I don't believe fulfillment comes from a destination. I believe it's the journey, enjoying it, gathering people around you who care about you and have similar values.
I love that. I love that. Don't go yet, because I kind of want to put something back at you on that point.
Okay, sure.
I've always been about that lifestyle thing. I mean, look, I to this day say that any kind of profession in the music industry is a privilege. It's a complete privilege, especially as you get more, as Luke and I were talking about, going on your own terms, working with people that you want to work with, doing that your own thing. That's a fucking privilege.
Yeah.
You can get a job. You can go to school and make a resume, go in the pipeline and get a job. Okay. But like to do this is an absolute privilege. And I think the whole point, to Max's point there, is recognizing scale. Look, we all want to play in front of lots of people. Right, we all want to like be recognized for what we do, but I think it's so fucking important to recognize the moment you're living the lifestyle in accordance with those values. You may be living in a shitty 1-bedroom or studio or in a roommate situation, whatever it might be, driving a fucking Geometra, you know, like not quite living the dream that you have, but you are waking up every day. You're doing the same things that you're like Max was talking about, and then you kind of have that scale. Like right now I'm driving the Geo. Eventually I might be driving a fucking C-Class Mercedes, but whatever. Like I'm still doing the same kind of things and it's scaling. So for Max, back to you, what was the transitional point for you to realize that like, oh, it's a lifestyle chase. It's a lifestyle hustle. It's not necessarily 100%. Results-oriented hustle. What was that moment for you?
100%. I was a software developer in 2017, not my thing. And I realized that in 2019, when I was networking so much. I was going to music shows in Hollywood every night, in downtown LA, in Santa Monica. I was like meeting all these people. I love to network. And I finally came to a point where I was having all these initial sparks of relationships, but then we wanted to follow up and have a meeting. But at 12 noon on a Wednesday, I was at an office, you know, had my desk job, and it started overflowing. There's these things that I want to do with my day. I wake up in the morning and say, I want to have that follow-up meeting, but I have to go to work. And it just came to a point where it's like, I'm blocking my blessing. I'm not living the life I was meant to live, my purpose, because I'm going to this day job. I need to go and follow up with that producer I met in Hollywood last night. You know, he wants to have a meeting at his studio. Let's do that, because that's what I want to do. So the transition was every night I was networking and meeting the people I'm supposed to be meeting, and talking about the actions that I'm supposed to be, you know, fulfilling. And then it got to a point where it's like, opportunities are here. It's time to invest most of my effort into those opportunities. So I quit my day job and I just started making money with those opportunities.
Yep.
And it's got to a point where now people hit me up. Now we're talking about scale. It's now people hit me up to be like, hey, I know you worked with this artist. Can you help me on my music video? Or do you know an engineer who can help me with this? So now I'm a bit of a connector in the industry in LA. And it's scaled to that point where I don't have to go and chase opportunities anymore. It's now there's word of mouth. I've built some sort of reputation and you know, in the industry. So
love it, dude. Thanks for bringing that up. I mean, I firmly believe that the music game is a lifestyle hustle first and foremost. And then it's funny, you said I quit my day job, and most people equate that with some sort of tipping point of success. Like, I quit my day job. Are you getting paid like lots of money for music now?
Yeah.
You know, people assume that if you quit your day job, you made it somehow, right? But I like the idea there of like, I quit my day job, maybe to scale back expenses so I don't have to be there as often, so I can position myself for more of these other opportunities to live a lifestyle in accordance with progression there, and also just my everyday values. So I think if you approach from that point of view, you're going to be in a better place from fulfillment, right? And just through longevity, so you're not burnt out by like, damn, it's year number 3. You know, I joked with my friends because they said, you know, like, dude, you made all that money on, you know, Spotify. You just launched your shit in April. Like, what is that, 4 months? But I was like, yeah, but it took me 12 fucking years to actually make real money from making music. It took me in this zigzaggy path of marketing, journalism, starting companies, selling companies, education, and finally like, I guess I'll make music now. Yeah. So it took all that shit for me to be like, all right, now I actually know what I'm doing. So whenever someone says like, oh, it's only been a couple of months, I'm like, no, dude. Not at all. But I've been happy the entire time because I'm doing what I want. I haven't updated my resume since fucking high school. So I'm winning according to me. You know, the guy driving the Bentley might be like, you're losing, bro. You drive a Ford Focus. But I'm like, yeah, but I like what I do every day. You know?
I do got to go, but HISHAM, always great to be here. Everyone, you know, keep on creating and find the thing that makes you happy, and then do that first thing in the morning. And then the rest of your day can suck.
Thanks, Maximilian. Thanks, nice to hear you.
Peace, man.
Okay. Catch you later. Catch you at the next one.
Speak to that, the lifestyle. Yazzie, you've been relatively quiet. I want you to talk. That's you, Yazzie.
I didn't know what to talk about. Like, yeah, but I mean, okay. You know I could talk, so I just wanted to be quiet for a little while.
No, God, that's why you're here.
I talk too much sometimes. Okay, so I guess I'm gonna go back to the beginning. I was just thinking about, you know, being creative and stuff like that, because I haven't been really creative, I think, for a long time.
Wow.
I don't even know what a long time is, but it's like I'll make a song here and there, and then I'll stop, and then I'll make another song, and then I'll stop. Or I'll have something big, like I'll release a music video, and then I'll stop, and people are like, what's going on? What's happening? So the best thing, and obviously the pandemic's a horrible situation, but I think the best thing about this happening was, for me, I kind of sat back and was trying to figure out what I wanted to do and like why I wasn't making music. Was it because of that pressure of wanting to do it for other people? And I think that was like a big part of it that I realized at this time, just being isolated and not having to go to other people to get that, hey, does this track sound good? Or, you know what I mean? Like, it was more so I was looking to myself for those affirmations, and it kind of made it easier for me to create at this moment.
Especially coming out of Icon, right?
Yeah, out of Icon, exactly. Because, and then Icon, obviously, it was a lot of money. And I feel like I spent so much money on these things, and I was like trying to be like, okay, if I put my money here, then it's gonna work. If I put my money there, but then at the end of the day, it's all about where you're at, you know, mentally. I don't know how to explain that better, but it's like you can get all these tools, you can collect everything, but until you know where you're going and how you want your voice to be without any judgment from anyone else, you're gonna feel stuck. And that's what I think I felt since like probably few months ago. You know what I
you-
mean? And I went
are
to
you still
Icon
there?
and, huh? Sorry.
Are you still there? Do you feel like you're still in this kind of funk?
Yes and no. It's like the things that I create, I love, and I know if I put them out, I probably get a good response to them. But I'm trying to create without those restrictions in my head. So that's
Sure.
what I'm trying to figure out right now. You know.
Who can give
Like
you
battle
some
with
advice on
yourself.
that? Who can speak to that? Help her out.
I mean,
Yes, help me.
I don't know necessarily if I like have the advice, but I can relate like a motherfucker, you know, like I think there's something about like, especially being like, okay, so what Tomas was talking about, having that, like the hyperflow stuff, like there's something to say about having a community of people, friends, other creatives that like, where you're working to kind of outdo someone else in a friendly way.
Sure.
And like people are critiquing you and you're like, okay, well now I know this is bad. But then there's also this thing that we're dealing with right now where we're all showing up every day to our creative processes by ourselves. Like you said, like not having people to bounce it off. And that is a crazy battle with your own mentality, like every day sometimes for people maybe like me and you who are, you know, feeling like off on our creative processes or something like that. Like I've had to do so much like side work to get myself comfortable to be like, okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna finish this and I'm gonna make this. Like I gotta meditate, I gotta work out, I gotta do this.
Me
like,
too.
You know,
yeah.
and it's like
procrastination.
yeah, exactly. And it's like, but some days I wake up and I'm just like, oh, I'm on it. Like I'm gonna get to it. And I don't meditate, work out, or even eat. I just create. You know, like then it's 6 p.m. and all I've had is 6 cups of coffee and like maybe an almond. And
that was me yesterday. Are we the same
those
person?
days, those are my favorite. Like I love those days.
Lightning, dude.
Yeah, it's like when I black out and wake up, you know, 12 hours later with like this thing that I have done, not 12 hours, like 6 or 7 hours later. And, you know, that's an amazing feeling.
Yep, facts.
It's so great. It's so unhealthy, but it's so amazing. You know, and it's like, it's like, sure. I think when one thing I have adopted to get myself to try to like regulate the amount of days I have like that, because those days come rare and they don't come, you know, enough to the point where like I start to feel discouraged and like I'm like, what am I doing? Am I making anything good? Am I finishing anything? Like what's going on? So I kind of like adopted this mentality that like, and I can't remember who I heard it from. I think it was like John Mayer. He's my favorite guitar player, so I watch all his interviews.
Nice.
But so he was like, I just show up every single day and I go fishing, and like it doesn't matter if I catch. Some days I catch really big. Some days I pull out like a, you know, aluminum can. But if you go fishing every day, your you know percentage of how many good days you're gonna have is obviously higher than if you don't fish at all. Like you have to show up with the same energy to your computer, to your instrument, or whatever you're doing. Like you have to have a consistent energy showing up so that you allow yourself the space to have those amazing days.
Yep.
Because if you quit in the first hour or so and you're like, I'm not doing it today, you're not allowing yourself the time to like sit down with an idea.
Yeah, we've all been there, right? We're like in hour number 3, something comes up, you know? Right. And I love the mirror analogy better than some things that you typically hear of like, oh yeah, treat it like a job, show up every day like it's a job. Nah, then you fucking start taking the fun out of it. Like who likes going to their job? You know, like those are occupations because they occupy our time. You know, but like the idea of fishing of like, you know, think about the idea. I've never gone fishing, but I can imagine like you're in a boat by yourself, you're in the water, and then you just kind of chill. But like there's something about that, like that's a discipline, right? To be able to be kind of zenned out like that. And then the idea of the reward, like as opposed to like the job and the outcome. I love that. I'm rolling with that. I really appreciate that. Does anyone else want to speak to that?
I have something for Yasmin. Yeah, so what helps me is like creating with no expectation of the end result, really, because like that you're setting up yourself up, in my opinion, just to have like too many expectations for creating, and rather just go with like inspiration from like other music, which I do a lot. Just listen to other music outside of just electronic music, like rock, metal, or even like ambient stuff too. And even like from movies, just watching like video clips to just like make melodies from helps me too. So like no expectation is usually what helps me a lot. So
Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean,
I have an advice that I can give you.
Yes,
Maybe
thank
can
you.
help
What up?
you.
Give
What
it to
up?
me. I'm ready. Hey.
Are you ready? I have
Yeah.
just read a book that had helped me a lot. It's named Artist Way. Someone know it?
Oh, I have it.
Yeah.
I just
You
never
have
read
it?
it.
Are you
I never
using
read
it?
it. No.
Never read it?
I
So
know.
good.
I know.
There has two advices that I've been using and they are helped me a lot. One is these morning pages. I don't do it in the morning, honestly, but I do it when I get into the studio. And before like getting into my creative and start working, I take the time to write 3 pages on the book about all my ideas and all the things that are in my head, probably that are like interfering with myself and have like all these ego things that come around.
Yeah.
So I put it in paper and like, that's a way that I can live my thoughts there in a side and then just go and work like freely. Helps me a lot that. But you have
Really?
to be
Okay.
consistent. I do it every day, even Sundays. So
Really?
you know,
Okay.
that's like
Even
a
Sundays.
1%, even Sundays. So you get that 1% that when you do it like every day and you're constant, then you know, change, like you see changes. Now like I can realize what are the things that are troubling me so I can work them out. And that's our things that also I've been working on my music. So respecting with the why, I like thought about it and I'm like trying to get a meaningful why, you know?
Yeah.
And probably the music I've been doing mostly now, it's more like about myself and healing myself, my self issues that we all have.
Okay.
So this is the way like I also like have these advices and things that like are troubling me, work them and then turn it into a meaningful message that probably then I will share. And I hope people like can heal with also with that.
Yeah.
And
for
the
sure.
other thing that says the book is this artist date. So
Okay.
you have 2 hours a week for yourself, for doing whatever you like. I don't know, I like dancing, I like theater, I like writing a lot. I don't use I don't use any writing music because I prefer like develop these other skills.
Mhm.
But the idea is to like take out your creative child. They talk about that.
Okay.
And so when you're working also that, you also then when you get to the point to get into the dawn, work your music, you have all this energy and you're like just playing, you know?
Yeah.
You just take the time for yourself.
Love
And
it.
also that healing process helps you with your creativity.
All right.
And that helps you with your meaningful why you're doing all these things.
Thank
I
you.
think that you should read it.
Yeah,
Okay.
the link is
Everyone
in,
here, I will recommend it a lot.
the link is in the chat
That's a
section.
great,
For
great.
sure.
Charlie, you got it
Thank
too?
Thanks.
Yep,
Yeah,
I read it.
I've read that, and then the other one that I would add on top of that is the art of or the War of Art
Oh, yes.
by Stephen Pressfield. Like those 2 books in combination
Classics.
made me take giant leaps in like
Really?
just being comfortable
Okay.
with being an artist. Yeah.
Could
both
you
of those
repeat
books are
could you
incredible.
repeat the title of this Stephen Pressfield book?
It's
please?
called The War of Art.
Did I think I just
War
and
of
read
Art.
he has I don't know if it's called a trilogy in books, but he has 3 books that kind of work together. I think it's that one right there. It's like Turning Pro, Do Work, and The War of Art, and they're all extremely
Cool.
positive.
Thanks.
towards-
Yep,
Yeah,
if you click the
there's-
link I just put in the chat section as well, anyone, Luke as well, you can literally buy all 3 right there.
Oh, thanks.
There's
Great.
a
$3
there's
bucks.
one more book. One book I would recommend on creativity. It's a little different, but it's called Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love. So I never read that book, and so I didn't think that I would be interested in like, I just didn't know. But this book is amazing. It talks about creativity in a different light than the way that the two previous books have look at it. But it's a really good one for the why. And I've read it probably like 4 times.
Wow.
It's really excellent. She's talking about creativity from an author's perspective, but it really ties into any sort of creativity. Highly recommend this one as well. In addition to the 2 mentioned, I've read all of them, and all the books mentioned are really good.
Love it. Putting that link in the chat as well. Yeah, we have to bring back the book club. I also want to really quickly touch back on the point Jeff made, and Tomas, actually, I'd love for you to kind of piggyback on it. The idea of, you know, giving yourself that room to kind of almost like experiment a little bit. I mean, I was explaining this to someone today. I was talking to this company. What were they called? Sonata. They're a licensing company. And the guy asked me, so like, what kind of music do you make? And of course, many of us are like, oh God, like, you know, how do you kind of answer that? Because we kind of like, you know, no one wants to say I make this thing and that thing only. And I'm still in that phase. And I told him, like, you know, dude, I only launched my thing in April, and I started off making kind of lo-fi neoclassical stuff because that's what I was into at the time, and I can make piano stuff. But like, you know, I kind of felt this pressure to kind of make more of that stuff. Like, I guess this is my lane. I'm gonna stay in this lane. And especially after the last creative corner we had, I was like, but I want to play. Let me just fuck around with like some finger drums and other things like my past, etc. And the way I explained it to him was like, dude, like you're talking to a very incomplete, you know, artist right now. Like the way I told him was like, I'm walking down this path and I'm just picking flowers that look interesting. Okay, so a little neoclassical here, a little lo-fi here, and some dance music here. And by the end of this path, or maybe a mile down the road, I will present to you a bouquet that's going to be my unique kind of flavor and scent. But for now, I'm picking individual flowers, and anyone who follows me now is kind of along for the ride for that. And I'm cool with that, you know? But it's giving me this fucking permission. Yeah, it's permission to be like, I don't have to make piano stuff all the time. I can do it, you know? But when I sent my friend in Germany this video I posted today, he's like, dude, honestly, this sounds more like the guy I know. Cause like you make sad music, but you're a happy dude. I never really kind of got that, you know? So like, I'm still trying to figure it out. So Tomas, I'd love for you to kind of just chime in really quickly on that idea of giving yourself permission to kind of keep experimenting.
Yeah, I think that's a really big thing. I think that's one thing that I've experienced was once I found a lane that I really, really liked, which is now it's Habitat. It was amazing and I was making a lot of cool stuff, but then there was times when I felt limited by that same cool lane that I found. I also found that I wanted to make house. I wanted to try like some dirty dubstep bass type stuff, and it didn't exactly fit into this lane that I've created. So, but now the way that I do it is I just create. I think it's really important just allow yourself to create and just say yes to whatever comes to you. So my whole thing with when I'm in writing sessions is just saying yes, like it's yes mode. So if you're sitting down and trap comes to you, it's just like, okay, cool. Yes, I'm going to make some trap, or, you know, whatever it is that comes to you, you make it. And then my whole thing is just making demos, like make a demo, bounce the MP3, put it in a folder. All right, I'm good. You know, I got it out of my system, and I just keep that super, super open. I think it's good to, you know, when you're looking for a particular sound, or if you're going for an album, or if you're trying to write something specific, definitely, you know, try to channel that vision. But when I sit down, if I'm sitting down to produce and I say no too much, like something comes to me and I'm like, no, that's too fast. That's too this, that's too this. And I keep saying no. I feel like it just, like the whole session turns into a no, and then I'm not making anything. So wow. I think it's good to keep it open.
Yep. And to give a just a real quick story on that, my friend Jeff, who's also known as Poolside, he kind of shared the story with me yesterday. At the time, they were just, you know, DJing parties, mostly dubstep stuff. But they're like, what can we make that's not this fucking loud music? Let's just play like chiller, slower tempo dance music, the stuff that we just listen to. Maybe the dance floors won't like it, but we'll make it. And they just start throwing tracks on SoundCloud. And they did a Neil Young cover called of Harvest Moon. And the manager even said, this song is not complete. You know, it doesn't sound like it's done. But they were like, we only did it in 3 hours, but fuck it. Let's just throw it out there. And that is the song that blew them into the stratosphere when it came to like really building an audience. And then, only then, did they drop an album of more music kind of like that. Okay, so they kind of stayed in the lane because they were kind of throwing darts, and they're like, that one. People seem to really, really like that one. We'll make more of that. But since they gained the trust of their audience, now they can have more time to just deviate a little bit. They found a lane, but if you listen to the progression of their albums, even their singles, they're getting more and more funky. They're not so poolside laid back because now they're bringing the audience along, but they threw a bunch of darts, you know, based on their background, and one stuck, and they kind of went forward in that lane. But only now they have the trust of their audience that they'll go with them now at this point. You know, so the idea there is that they gave themselves enough time and energy to be able to experiment until something stuck. That was the culmination of all their shit. And I can speak to this too, guys. It's often the one song that you didn't spend that much time on. At least for me, Like my most popular song on Spotify with 17,000 saves right now is the one that I wrote the morning of and did 3 takes of, you know? And every time I try to replicate it, it's not as good. It's not as good. It's always that one that you're kind of in flow, right? You're just kind of in flow. You're like, that's kind of writing itself, and don't overthink it. And I mean, I really, Tiazi, back to your point, you know, or your situation, I really think it's important that you let yourself just put it out there and don't worry about if people like it or not. Just give yourself the permission to release it, literally release it from you, release the obligation, so to speak, of you, and then just keep going, keep going.
I think it's important to give yourself permission to make not so great music also.
Yeah.
like I have been, and it's so weird because I know that, like I can tell that to anybody, but then in the studio I'm like, why is this so bad? And it's like, sometimes you gotta make like 10 really shitty tracks that you're proud of. And it's like, I'm a big believer too that the longer I don't make music, like the longer the time frame of me making like not so stuff is gonna be. So it's like, if I'm consistent, I'm gonna be making stuff that I feel like is on par. But when I take time off, I have to go through like a week of making garbage beats. Like, you know, not, sometimes you get stuff that's salvageable, but like I often go into a bad creative space because I'm not allowing myself like to make maybe not up to par music for my standards. I just think that's important.
I get the idea of the permission to make shitty music. I love it. Well, as we wind down here, guys, I just want to kind of bring it home a little bit. Look, hopefully the crux of this that you guys are picking up on here is it's everyone has their own version of creative fulfillment, obviously, what's going to motivate you to move forward. But hopefully, and this was kind of the point of this discussion, is that we're all kind of talking about, we're dancing around one common thing here, and it's the process. Okay, I know people say all the time, you got to love the process, you got to love the process. But I kind of want to speak to that, like I said, on a micro level of the process of, you know, Command N, new track, adding tracks and making tracks. And then the process of like what that is doing and how that's impacting the lifestyle that you're building for yourself. The lifestyle, the financial lifestyle, of course, the creative lifestyle, the professional, the personal lifestyle, the people you're surrounding yourself with. And hopefully seeing that the lifestyle component is a process in of itself. And that's why we're doing this, right? Not necessarily to headline a stadium, which is great. You can totally have that kind of ambition to go there. But I like to think that as we start to define what gives us personal fulfillment, hopefully it can center around the idea of this being a moving process. And that's the difference between climbing the corporate ladder at a job and having the process in which your life unfolds in front of you on your own terms, doing what you love to do. Hopefully you guys can center around that and move forward there. But one thing I want to do before we dip out of here that I did not do last time, since we do talk about the idea of community here, hopefully you guys keep coming back. If everyone would be so kind to go in the chat bar right there and just drop your Instagram handle, and please everyone follow these accounts. Everyone here should be there to support each other, hopefully. While we continue to build a community of some kind. I'll keep doing these every other week and finding new topics for us to focus on. And really quick, please check out the next Hyperflow that Tomas is doing. We are not a sponsor of Hyperflow. I just love it.
Hell yeah.
I really dig it. Tomas,
Yeah,
when is the next one?
August 2nd.
Okay.
First Sunday of every month. And it's donation based, so you don't even have to pay anything. You can just sign up.
Love it.
I'll see you there, Tomas. I just signed up.
Hell yeah, Charlie.
Check the links in the chat. It's there somewhere. There we go, hyperflowmusic.com. Otherwise, I mean, I'll definitely try to get in on that next one.
Yeah, would love to have you, everyone there.
Yep, go ahead and follow those accounts, guys, before I close the chat box as well, because it'd be really nice if we all did it. Any closing thoughts? I don't want to have a closing thought. Anyone else want to have anything they want to say before we bail out of here?
Yeah, Hisham, what's your Spotify handle, man? I want to hear that new track you put out.
Rizik is my actual Spotify. But here, I'll just send a quick link in the chat.
They have everyone else plug themselves, but not you, man. Come on.
Oops. All right, there's my Spotify.
New track is fire, too.
Thank you.
Willow. It's dope.
Yes.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
And Tomas, I listen to your stuff all the time, by the way. It's so dope. Yes.
Yasmin.
Stargazing. Fire.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shem, why Rizik? And I mean, I know why, but I kind of want to hear it again. Like, how'd you come up with the name, and why did you take the name, and what's the meaning behind it?
I mean, Rizik is my mother's maiden name, who's always been a big supporter of mine, but also it loosely translates to the word blessing in Arabic. And that was kind of like a little bit of a reminder to like, don't blow it, kind of like for whatever reason, music came naturally to you. And it's kind of like a reminder to uphold the gift, the blessing that was bestowed upon me of just musical understanding, I guess you can say. And the big vision really is not to like make me Rizik. I don't want to be Rizik. There goes Rizik. But I'd rather have Rizik be like the name of the project. Like I can have a band and they're in Rizik kind of thing. You know, I can collaborate with others. So it's not really me per se, but that's why I chose the name. And also, you know, if you just Google my name, it's dirty. It's just business shit. I don't want that. So I want to keep it independent of that. Before we go real quick, Tomas, did you drop your Instagram here? I want to show that video. There it is, Habitat Music.
Yep.
I want to show that video that he dropped. That was fucking perfect for like.
Let's see it.
I love to
See it.
All right, screen share time. Having fun is the fucking key of phrase right there.
Nice.
This idea came from the ArtistPro program, by the way.
Love it.
Yeah.
More of those, please.
Coming
Yeah,
soon.
for sure.
I've got a couple that's lined up. It's ready to go.
Good.
Nice.
You have more remixes
Thanks.
coming out? That Dr. Dre one was dope. I'm like fangirling on you right now.
Thanks. So tight. So yeah, definitely got some new stuff coming out soon.
Good stuff. All right. Well, everyone follow each other, click the links, check out the books, do what you got to do, stay in touch for the next Creative Corner. It's going to go down in 2 more weeks. I already got the topic in mind, but I'll post about it, all that kind of fun stuff. Otherwise, if you guys have any questions about any other stuff, it's time. Stay in touch with each other, and thank you for taking the time to join us. I'll catch you guys in 2 weeks.
Right on, HISHAM.
Oh yeah.
Greetings, guys.